Are you sitting down, teacher? Well, hold on to your coffee, because we have a bold idea to share. We don't think you should ask kids to raise their hands. Ever. I know. It sounds crazy, but hear me out. Here's how teachers often ask questions. This one isn't a brain buster, but it's not a gimme either. Right when she tells kids to raise their hands, Jessica and Jamila are like, bam! And Alex goes into power saver mode. He knows that this teacher only calls on you if you raise your hand, so if you're confused or weren't paying attention, all you have to do is sit tight until someone else gets picked. And someone else tends to be Jessica, who always has an opinion, or Jamila, who always knows the answer. We can't blame Alex. Nobody likes to be wrong or look dumb. And his teacher doesn't want to seem mean by putting him on the spot or lose lesson momentum by having to address a misconception. These are common impulses. But the reality is that she simply doesn't know if Alex understands, and she's subtly enabling him to withdraw. Instead, we think you should almost exclusively be cold calling. That means calling on students who don't have their hand up. Here's how it looks in my classroom. First, I ask the question, and then I wait so everyone can think. Because they're used to me never taking hands, all of my students feel accountable for thinking hard about my question. After a few seconds, I choose a specific student to answer, and I say the name after the question, so everyone stays alert. If someone raises their hand, I might acknowledge and validate them silently. But they know that I could call on anyone. Asking questions this way ensures consistent engagement from all of my students, so it's a good move for boosting participation and rigor. But it also allows me to be strategic about whom I'm getting information from. Not everyone agrees with me about cold calling. In fact, some teachers are strongly opposed to it. They tell me that cold calling is a gotcha move that gives students unnecessary anxiety. And that's a valid concern. If a teacher uses cold calling exclusively to engage students who've been quiet for a long time or who seem distracted, well, who could blame a kid for feeling taken by surprise? But in my classroom, cold calling is the norm. Kids expect it, so nobody feels singled out, especially when I use the popsicle sticks. If I don't need to be strategic about whom I call on, I pick randomly from the jar, so my students don't feel like I'm being unfair. Don't ask me why, but they tend to really like the sticks. I've spent a lot of time reinforcing how useful it is to make a mistake, so the class understands that cold calling is a tool, not a punishment. But there are a few students whom I like to prepare for a question. This is called warm calling. Robbie has an anxiety disorder, so sometimes I'll circulate over to him and give him a heads up that a question is coming. And I'll do the same for Victoria, because she can sometimes struggle to manage her temper if she feels put on the spot. But in general, I'm a cold calling machine. Doug Lemov's Teach Like a Champion has some other great advice about this technique, including lots of videos of what the cold call looks like in action. Cold calling helps me stay honest with myself about how well my class understands the material, and it ensures that my students always feel accountable for paying attention and thinking hard.